I don't want to talk just about story, though, because there are the rules. Collaboration really affects the rules as well. And that says leveling up. I took a little level of badass, can you tell? When you're figuring out what rules you're going to use, it's kind of like picking a whole new set of rules for the universe, a whole new set of physical laws. Guys, I'm going to be running a D&D campaign in Eberron, but I'm not going to use grappling. Oh, okay, cool, we're in for that. I don't like that. I really like grappling. All right, we'll use the modified rules for grappling. Okay, you just collaborated to say what rules the universe is going to have. You guys want to do a World of Darkness vampire game? Anybody in? Yeah, okay. Can I play a werewolf? No, because this is a vampire game, this is what I want. Okay, well, can I play that clan of vampires that kind of has wolf-like abilities? All right, but it's still a vampire. Yeah, okay, I'm in for that. Hey guys, we need more giant robots. Anybody want to play Palladium Robotech? Nobody wants to play? Okay. How about with Bezo, because it's easier? Oh, okay. We can all agree on that. Sweet. So we kind of collaborate on the rules right from the get-go. We're figuring out what game we're going to play next. Because the core rules pretty much say what that game is going to go like. D&D is very combat heavy. You know you're going to come across combat. It's going to happen. Somebody may say, all right, well, I'm not going to do the standard kind of monster killing campaign. It's going to be set in a city, and you may be fighting other factions and guards, and it's going to be very role-playing heavy. But you build your characters with lots of combat options. This kind of mini simple role-playing game system I've put out here for you on your sheets is very similar to an early version of D&D. Uses some other elements, but everybody has a combat stat because everybody's going to get into combat. That's a core element of that game. So picking the rules, you know what is going to happen. And if we know the rules of what's going to happen with the world, we know how we can affect those best and what our in-game roles can be. D&D's combat heavy, and we're going to be taking damage. So I'm going to volunteer for this next thing. Anybody want to volunteer their characters? Either of you really want this? Yeah. Go down to 1 hit point. What character are you?
I'm a mage.
Alright, how did your mage get down to 1 hit point?
So it looks like I have a staff with like a ball and chain on the end of it.
Okay.
And in an effort to conserve my power points, I decided to use that as a weapon. Yeah, I critical and kind of caught myself in the head with ball as there's
out of your 12 hit points, you scored an incredible hit on yourself. You take yourself down. Alright, you're still good, you're still alive, you're probably in critical condition. How do we get you to keep going on this adventure? Because in real life, healing takes a long time.
Luckily, as a mage, I have sustaining magic, which I use to heal people.
Okay.
Because it's magical healing, it doesn't take months and years. So I can just spend a point to give myself back.
Alright, you get yourself up to 70 hit points. And you're okay, but you're still kind of feeling bad. You can only do that once per day.
Yeah.
So, anybody else think they might be able to help you?
Yes, I can cry.
You can cry. You've got a paladin.
My tears will do wonders.
Nice. So, he's a mage. How does your paladin feel about that? If we chosen rules beforehand, we know kind of if magic was good, if it was bad, if it was evil, but I'll let you decide how you feel about that.
I'm going to be okay with that.
Okay.
Because I really care about him.
Okay, so in this game story, that's only happened here within these last couple of minutes. Your character really cares about his character and wants to see him do okay. So you're willing to shed tears to heal him.
Yes.
So you spend a point and use your Tears of Healing ability. And you gain back how many more hit points?
5.
Alright, you're almost up to full. So you knew your roles in this. You had a role that you could possibly be a healer, and you had a role as a healer. When you pick that class, when you say, I'm going to have this power and ability, you say, this is some of what I'm going to be doing in the game. Because I can heal when somebody else gets hurt, I am going to heal. A common game discussion is, alright guys, so we're playing D&D, who's going to be the face? Who's going to do all the speaking stuff? Make your character good to do this. We want somebody who's good at that. Okay, we know we're going to find traps. Who's going to be the trap disarmer and the lockpicker? Okay, one of you can do that. And you build these defined social roles in the game world. That kind of consequences what you do out of the game. But it says, yes, we are agreeing on the rules, and we are collaborating to take various elements of this. Now, in a thing like Vampire, healing is not really so important, so that's not one of the roles. So if we decide we're going to play a game called Vampire, which is about being undead vampires struggling with the world and figuring out their role in a world that doesn't accept vampires, and you can feed on somebody and get some blood and heal yourself. So you don't really need to feel healing, but you do need to figure out other things. All right, will my vampire be compatible with yours? There are many different clans. How do we do this? Are we hunting in the same grounds? You kind of say, these are the rules we're going to play by. How do we all fit into this structure? All right. And this lets us all be participants in some way. We make concessions in other ways so that we can do things in other ways. We say, all right, I'm going to be the lockpicker, but I also get to be the guy who bounces around and cuts stuff because I'm going to be a swashbuckler character who's kind of a mix of both of those. All right, cool, we've got something like that. Like the mage. Yeah, I can heal a little bit. All right, we don't necessarily need a cleric or a paladin or to carry around a lot of healing potions. So the rules help support the rules we pick. All right. But rules change based on the players in the group. Having rules doesn't mean we're strictly bound by them, unless we want to be. But it does mean that you can change the rules and take them from whatever they say. Chance and the players talk about change your rules, like with grappling. We don't want to do grappling in this way. Let's use this optional set of rules or just keep it completely out of here. We're deciding on a version of reality ourselves. Even though it says so in this book that we buy for this game that we play, we're figuring it out ourselves and saying, we want this, not that. The game will go this way because it works better, or because it's more fun. It's an entertainment experience, so we change a lot of things to make it more fun. This is from the first game this movie. This character is going to pickpocket from that character. There are rules defined for that. But if he gets past it,
he doesn't notice you.
I picked his pocket.
Oh.
Got it. Does he have any weapons or anything?
Yeah, he's got a knife.
I take that too.
Okay, roll it.
Cool. I'm kicking ass. I want to steal his pants.
You're not serious.
I am serious.
Why do you want his pants?
I don't want them. I just want to see if I can steal them.
Fine, go ahead. Put yourself for a negative 8 penalty for difficulty. Are you quite finished?
Yeah. Oh, and I ordered some wine for the innkeeper.
Oh, dude, until you took his pants.
Hero.
Am I still unconscious?
Alright. So, there are rules for stealing in the game of D&D, the version that they're playing. And they don't really extend to what is the actual penalty for stealing your pants. But the group of guys said, you know what, alright, that's fine. I'll give you a shot. Here you go. I'm going to make up and change your rules, and you get a negative 8 penalty. Alright, he rolls his dice, he gets negative 8 to whatever he rolls, but he still makes it. The story goes on. It is completely outside of what would happen in reality, but it is fun. And that's one of the things that you do, because it is a fun experience. Once you start, though, it just keeps going.
Booyah! I sneak into backstab position.
You're gonna attack him? What good is that gonna do?
Duh! I do triple damage when I attack from behind. I sneak into place behind him and unsheath my dagger. Just your dagger? Good point. I'll use my sword.
Even with triple
Damage, it's not gonna kill a guy outsize. Wait. I have a better idea.
This one gave me 2 clips.
I'm gonna backstab him with a ballista.
Uh-huh.
With a fucking siege weapon?
Sorry.
Uh-huh.
There's gotta be a rule against this.
I've got it. I can totally picture this.
There's nothing against it in the rules.
It is right to say no, you can't do that.
Well, that's 264 points. You splatter all over the common room. The patrons shriek in horror and run out of the inn, occasionally slipping and whatnot. You're now alone in a room that looks like a vat of beef stroganoff exploded.
So they pretty much agreed to make the rules fit more of this version of reality what they want. They all enjoy doing crazy things in the game, having fun with it. It's stressful for them, so they said that's what this reality that we're doing encompasses. Alright, so the rules change based on the players in the group, and the rules change because we want to include everybody inside of the game. You don't want another volunteer for this, but I won't take away all your hit points, I promise. Alright, you haven't really gone yet, so what's your character? Good. The mage? Alright. You're surrounded by 7 orcs who are out of magic points. How do you handle this?
I'm gonna try to do a leadership role to get this back on.
Okay, use your academic law kind of abilities to talk them
I'm
through.
so brilliant that they just can't help but being on.
Okay, go ahead and make your roll. You need above a 14.
And what's up? I have a 12.
You have a 12. Alright. So, you attempted with your law and leadership abilities. This isn't really kind of what that's made for. I want to see this happen. I don't want you to be out of the game. This is a place where someone else would be better at this. But I'm going to change rules and say, yeah, that academic law helps with this. I'm also going to say, this isn't really in the rules at all, but you've got perceptiveness. So, if you want to spend one of your points, let's say you've got 1 left, or if you want to take a couple of hit points of damage, I'll make that as a concession. You kind of see enough about them, understand enough about their social structures, you can add a +2 to your modifier. Do you want to take it? Okay. So, this is kind of a newer idea in gaming. Yes, let's really dig down into this collaboration. Yeah, that doesn't quite work. That's not really how this is written, and it's even outside the bonds of what we've agreed upon. But okay, I want you to join in, so go ahead and do this. Go ahead and we'll sacrifice somewhere to do that. So, describe how this happens, and describe why the hit points actually help you do that.
I start to talk, and one of the goblins,
Orcs.
cackles and stabs me in the side. It's just a graze, though. And as I continue to sort of observe, I'm going to talk to them and appeal to each one of them individually. They find the fact.
Okay. You kind of said, I'm not down yet.
Yeah.
I'm still going. I'm still strong. Okay. So we changed the rules to include everybody, to try to get everybody in and get them to be part of the story, even if it doesn't quite fit. And we kind of do this to bridge that gap between reality and gaming reality. That's one of the biggest things as gamers we have an issue with is we know what we know, and we can see this bigger, broader view of the world. We don't see what our players see right down in the midst. Because you have that perception, all right, you had some kind of speaking skills. We say that gives your character enough ability to kind of do this, and we can let it go down for a roll. Now, what would you do if I asked you, no, you actually have to make the argument convincing enough to get these 15 orcs to not kill you. I actually want you to be as good as your character at speaking. So go.
Friends, do you realize that your town is being burnt down as we speak? All your women and children are crying. If you kill me, then you will have no chance of saving your town, but I can show you where the scoundrels are that are taking over your
Okay, I'll actually allow that. But man, if you had to do that every single time. Like we talked about the different types of gamers, people play games because it's escapism. They want to be way more awesome than me. of your life. So that was pretty good. You want your character to be so much better than that. And sometimes you just want to, I just want to roll, yes, I got better than them. Here we go. Let's move on and do that. Escapism is why a lot of people play. So we agree that even though you may not be as awesome at talking as your character, you've dumped a whole points into to make them way better than anybody would ever really be without years and years of experience. You say, yeah, all right, that's how it goes. We want to bridge that gap, and we want to collaborate and all agree that that's okay. Here's another clip from Gamers that this is really an awesome movie because it is very much like gaming. All this kind of stuff, even the crazy stuff, is what happens. The group, this is at the beginning, the group doesn't have a whole lot of group unity yet. They don't know how they fight, they don't know how they interact, and they haven't really built those strong social bonds. So this is them getting their butts kicked in a fight.
Cass, you're up. Garrett. Lightning bolt! That'll go off in 2 rounds. Wild magic, Saxophone. Flip pulls a Lazarus.
He's already been killed because he couldn't charm the goblins.
And goblins. The goblins surround Daphne. Joanna?
Hold my action.
Yes.
Move to assist Daphne.
Twice.
I'm here to protect you.
She's the best fighter in the group,
No, Gary.
but they don't really know that. So the monk wasted all of his actions trying to help her get out of the situation that she didn't need any help with.
Osric uses the snap point.
And the bard is just not that. So they don't have the social structure. They don't really know how to do this stuff with each other yet. But later on, they actually start talking about it and talking about it out of game. That's one of these forms of collaboration that we do. Is we say, hey, we don't know as much as our characters. We don't see you. So we just say, oh, I can do this, you can do that. All right, why don't you do this and make this happen? Which is exactly how it happens for this book later in the game.
Right, which does.
At the cost of 2 spell slots, I can regain any spell previously cast in 10 rounds.
Assuming you can concentrate.
Well, then it falls to the rest of the parties to protect me.
You're going to see the bard back a lot in this one. He's been mind controlled, so she decides she's going to attack him and knock him out to get rid of him.
Osric lays hands on Silence.
He heals him.
Keep it down! I can't concentrate!
There's actually a subtitle track where they say exactly what is happening with the game that happens.
How many of those have you got? 50.
I can do this all night.
Don't distract me! I'm almost done!
You guys are lying. They actually say, you didn't plan to play it long enough, all right, I'll let you just throw a new card in whenever he
Good
got it.
question.
So
Gotcha.
they collaborate to let that
He
happen.
was trapped in the pentagram!
Now we have him!
And she gets out of information, she gets around with the rest of the group.
Everybody's got the door of me, asshole!
They keep working to get their strongest weapon.
Darling, prepare to
Time to
receive
get
the
this
flaming head and fire
back.
it too.
Oh! Relax, party, and everyone's goodbye. I suggest we get the hell out of here.
What about the stuff?
No good. If Driscoll moves before me, blast me unless I have a barricade or something.
I
They use the fact that they agreed that there's a horde of guards following them and they're ready to jump in to give enough time. So they're doing a whole lot of collaboration here, and they're trying to match what they know with what their characters could know. Their characters have been traveling for months of in-game time, and out of the game they said, yeah, all right, we've probably all talked about how we fight and what we do, so we know how to use our strengths. You need time to do this, I'll do my stuff here, you'll do your stuff there. Nobody's protecting the female fighter because they realize she's actually very good at this. So this collaboration comes in at a lot of aspects of this. They've also collaborated that it's more fun to have this shenanigan-y type of game, and said, all right, there's a horde of bards following you. So whenever the bard dies, another one comes in from somewhere saying, it's my turn now. All right, they've collaborated, so this is the reality we are working with. So this is how collaboration works in rules and how collaboration works in the story. It has actually worked in the industry. Like we talked about at the beginning with the history, it's spread really far and really fast. And it's hit everything. We go to Japan. Come on guys, think of it as a modern day League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Does somebody take cargo? The industry does a lot of this stuff. It gets Japan to go a lot of different places. Since we have role-playing games in many types of areas, there are a lot of factors that go into getting that far out, to becoming that popular. There are role-playing games for Serenity. There are role-playing games that have zombies as their main core. There are role-playing games licensed for 100 different things. And there are role-playing games that people say, oh, I'm going to use this system and turn it into this. And it's really caused it to spread out. And one reason of that is that rules are not copyrighted. And that is really damn scary if you're a game designer. You cannot actually say, roll a d20, compare it to a number, and own that. So, you can kind of sometimes own expressions of it, or that it does a certain thing, but really, those core aspects you just cannot control. Gaming, this is one of the things that cause gaming to spread far and wide in the beginning. But there have not actually been a whole lot of lawsuits in gaming to say, yes, you can't do this, or you can't do this, at least not as far as rules are concerned. Because by and large, when you're sitting there at a convention talking to people, they're like, oh, that's an awesome idea, blah, 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 that's really nifty, how do we do that? Okay, I want to play your game that makes use of that. Yeah, this is something similar to my game, but it would be awesome to see you take it that way. It leads to there being a lot of systems out there, because people get inspired by things they see in one game, and they build upon them. I have no idea if this is actually common knowledge or not, because I can't remember if the guy said at an award ceremony at the bar afterwards. But a big role-playing game that came out uses a lot of elements of smaller, independent role-playing games that are out there. And what he actually told me was, yeah, we really like those, so we hired the designers of those games, kind of paid them to come in and say, yes, you can use this, here's how I would do it in this game, and brought all these people together who made smaller, independent games that were really popular into this one larger game. There was no, oh, well, if you're going to use that, pay me $1 bazillion and do this and license this. I said, yeah, all right, pay me a fair wage, let's do this. Bring me on as one of the multiple developers. And they built something together that was greater than what they each had individually. All right, I want to tell you this story about D&D because it really shows how collaboration makes this industry move along and how when you don't have collaboration, it kind of grinds to a halt. D&D has used the D20 rule almost since its very first days. It's always been a D20, and they have this thing called the D20 system. They realized that game designers were going all over the place with lots of different game systems, sometime in the early 2000s. And they said, you know what? We would really love to corner this market. So they, even though rules were not copyrightable, said, hey, you can use the entire D&D system as it is, which people know, and we're going to publish it into this thing called the OGL, the Open Gaming License. Here are the requirements. You have to say this is who originally makes it. And people said, oh, all right, well, I can build off of that and make my game do this. I want to do D&D in a modern setting. Here's D20 Modern. Sweet. I want to do it in this new fantasy setting, but it's set in the stars. Okay, here's that. I want to make something. I want to have 17 new archer powers because I really like archers, and I want to do that. All right, release it as a PDF online. There were market market just got flooded by D20 products. And they cornered it. At that time, you saw people making other stuff, but it was like, yeah, I'm making that, but I want to do some D20 stuff too, or now we're just going to play D20 with whatever I have. Gaming groups were going to other games if they liked them, but everybody that became the big dog. Then they made 4E, released a different gaming license that pretty much said you couldn't do 3E stuff if you used this 4E thing to produce official gaming stuff. 4E was a response to popularity of MMOs like World of Warcraft, which were heavily influenced on their own by the mechanics and themes. But they said we want to get this younger audience, and we don't want people playing D20 anymore like it was. We want this new system of ours in place. And if we don't get all these people to stop doing that, we are going to go out of business real quick. So the 4E license said you can make 4E stuff, but you can't make 3E stuff anymore. That was kind of a flop. The mechanics were strong and easy, but a lot of the social elements were less important, so nobody really wanted to go to this. And the 4E gaming license didn't really catch on. Lots of small publishers called it quits, said, all right, well, people are going to be buying 4E books now, and they won't have the main support structure. I don't have a built-in audience as much. I'm going to go make something in Savage Worlds. That looks cool. I'm going to go design my own thing that I can do. I want to do this thing with cards as the mechanic. So they did a lot of these different things. And then Paizo, who was on the 3E license, pulling in a lot of things, said, you know what? We've realized we can just remake most of D&D and do this. So they kind of worked a little something out, said, hey, we're going to do this. We're not going to the 4E license ever. And they made this thing called Pathfinder, which is exactly like D&D 3.0 and 3.5. Fixes a couple of minor rules issues, but is still that same core element. And they outstrip D&D 4E sales right now. Hasbro, who owns Wizards of the Coast, who owns the D&D license, will not release sales numbers for their stuff. So there's no real official way to say this, but a lot of gaming stores talk about here's what's going on with my sales of this. And if you go in a gaming store, look, there's a 4E section, but it doesn't get played as much. Some people like it, but it just doesn't. Paizo said, yeah, we can do this, and we can be more open to this collaboration and social aspect. People wanted their games. We just stole that right out from under them. The award ceremony I was at this year, it was categories of, oh, we're in this category, and this category most likely to lose to Paizo, or whatever they were making. But that's what happens when you go through collaboration. And this also kind of spawned a whole lot of explosion in smaller, more independent games. Part of it was because 4E was not capturing the market share. Players were looking for something new to do. Part of it was because people wanted to do different things. They were saying, hey, I gamed in my 20s and all I knew then was D&D and this is cool. And now I'm 30 and I like D&D, but I don't have the same time abilities to go in and play those kind of games. Let's play this one. That's a smaller one-shot. Let's play this one. Part of it was also because technology put this into people's hands. People could say, yeah, I'm going to collaborate with other people who aren't even here and make my game. All the games I've made would not be possible if I did not have the internet to go talk to other people and get an artist from Seattle and an artist from the UK because they had what I wanted and needed. And it wouldn't be possible if I wasn't able to say, hey, here's a way for me to distribute this. I don't have enough money to get a print run to start this out. I will put it up as a PDF for $10 and enough people bought that so that I could go and make this and do what I wanted. I'm not even going to talk about Kickstarter because Kickstarter has just taken over with gaming. There are so many things out there, like on my Facebook page, there are so many, oh, here's this new Kickstarter, I'm doing this, and that's really, really awesome because a lot of games that wouldn't get made otherwise are getting made. Wizards is not stupid though. 4E might have been a flop, it did not make what they wanted it to do, it didn't take this industry in a whole new way, but it decided it was going to go back to what it knew. It realized it had pissed off its fan base. And so D&D 5th edition is being made right now. It's also called D&D Next. So they said, all right, fans, what do you want? What do you want us to make this new one with? They hired back a lot of designers from 3rd edition, the most popular stuff from 4th edition, people who worked on 2nd edition. And they said, all right, here we go. Here's all these people who will make they put blog posts out there, and every one of them has a poll. They're like, let's talk about wizards and what type of magic you want to see in D&D. And they have a poll and a community thread that just explodes. And they read those and they look and they say, hey, here's how we're going to do it. They even say, all right, what do you want our new logo to look like? And they're trying to get the fans to say, okay, we'll take you back. You listen to us and we'll take you back. Because they want the fans to be part of this again. And they realized with 4E, they didn't look at the market a lot. They looked at a different market and said, we want that, not what they already have. So, gaming is everywhere. Gaming just stretches out and influences everything. And it spreads to all these different places because of this collaboration. Like I said before, we collaborate with what we do. How can we as an industry not collaborate when we do it? Joss Whedon has just skipped through a bit of movies just because I want to make some time for gaming. A lot of movies and TV are inspired by games. Underworld was sued because there are elements of it that were too similar to stuff you found in White Wolf, Vampire, and Werewolf games. There was a vampire series called Forever Night, which people would play, oh, that's Satorio, and he does this. And there's been some talk that that was made from somebody's game. Firefly, Joss Whedon has said it was inspired by a game of Traveler that he played in college. He said, yeah, I'm going to do this, but in this game format. And if you think of the Avengers, like that picture, those are gamer character stereotypes. And how, if you're a director who says, I've got all these big personalities and all these big characters, how do I make them work together? Well, how did I do that in that game that I ran here? Well, how did I do that here? Since it's about story, there are tons of people who play games and then use that to enhance when they go off and become an author, when they go off and become a top-down content creator. Vin Diesel, who I totally misspelled that, is a big D&D player. He actually has a tattoo of a Drow War Strider character on his back. Conan O'Brien outed him on his show with that, and it's a hilarious one if you want to look it up. But he said that's his Pitch Black original, who's had inspiration from his games. There are a ton of books out there that started as games or have influence of things like games. The Dragonlance series started as a role-playing game that Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman ran, and they kind of included elements that their players brought in and said, oh hey, we're also going to be writing this as a story, and built the game directly from it, built the story directly from those games. Bureau 13 started as an RPG setting, but Nick Pilato went and wrote that into a series of books, which became incredibly popular. Rated E Fights Magician books are based off of a campaign that he ran. The Wild Card books were inspired by a superhero RPG, and then they made theirs a Wild Cards RPG that came off of that. Jim Butcher's Dresden Files, he makes tons of references to gaming inside of his book. And his wizard player actually plays a barbarian because he's a fun appeal wizard. That's what he does in real life. There's also a book that I just heard about called Quiet Key, and it starts with actual gamers in the real world who get sucked into a fantasy world and how they deal with those things. So gaming just stretches everywhere, and I don't think that would be the case without this collaboration that is built in at the deepest levels of what we do. We're okay with other people taking our ball and playing with it and changing it, and then we want to play with that too in this completely new way. So what I actually want to do now is take any questions you have and do scenarios to kind of show stuff if that brings it up. So pretty much any questions you have, anything you'd like to try, anything you'd like to look at more, we've got about 15 minutes that we can game and run through scenarios here. Does anybody have any questions about this?
Well, so obviously, alright, I'm going to back a little bit.
Okay.
There's a British journal called Interactive Fantasy. Have you seen any issues of that?
I'm afraid I have not.
It's hard to find now.
Okay.
In the mid-90s, you could dig through some boxes and find them. It was a digest size. It was about the size actually of this.
Okay.
In that, I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a guy who worked for TSR back in the days of Gamer magazine and that kind of thing. And he basically went through and tried to digest and dissect what an RPG was.
Okay.
And he talked about the difference between he defined, for example, that Civ City is not a game, it's a toy. And a story is a story, and a toy is a toy. Where does an RPG become a game and stop being something else?
Right.
And I think that that's one of the things that, like, White Wolf almost tried to get rid of in a way that, like,
With the new World of Darkness stuff?
World of Darkness stuff, right? Well, sorry, right, I meant World of Darkness.
Right.
And
White Wolf is a company, World of Darkness, as they're saying.
And I think about things like the so-called Amber Diceless game. Eventually, is that a game?
Absolutely. You have rules to govern how you do things. It's not just a storytelling experience. It just does not use the dice. There's another one called, which you may have heard of, called Red. It's a horror game. It is one of the most brilliant horror games I've ever seen. The mechanic is a Jenga tower. So you have this Jenga tower that, okay, you're running away from the killer. Okay, we're gonna run away from the killer, and you get this intense amount of suspense as you're performing actions in the game. So that's a game, it's a role-playing game, it just uses a different mechanic. Even if you're saying, all right, the mechanic is we do rock, paper, scissors to see who takes turns next, you've still got a game element to govern how that social interaction goes. Now, White Wolf World of Darkness is a very interesting story. They kind of did the same thing D&D did. These are all pictures of various gamers, by the way, obviously. But they did kind of the same thing D&D did and said, we need to reboot this. We've already tapped out our current audience. How do we go from here? And White Wolf had this huge meta plot with their story. They just had, here's how the world works. Here's what these clans do. Here's how these things happen. And people would just go by book after book explaining more of the background details. Then they said, you know what, we were going to have the apocalypse in the world. And they published a series of books that was all about the apocalypse for their world. Then they put out a new set of books called New World of Darkness. And they left out that meta plot. They said, no, all right, there's not as much of this structured plot to how the world works, to how the world setting works. There is, you have more free reign. They lost all of their older players. My friends love White Wolf and World of Darkness. I hate playing with them because they're like, oh, here's how we're going to do this and this and this. I'm not going to play Dangle because of this and this and this. And I'm like, I want to play a werewolf and make my own story. No, that's how that version of werewolf works. I want to do this stuff. No, they're so tied into that, and they love that. And World of Darkness lost a lot of its gamers. Went through a bit of a thing, got bought by CCCP, who makes EVE Online. And then they kind of got behind this print-on-demand thing. They said, okay, well, people like the old stuff. Let's just go and print that on demand, print off 50 at a time, have them be able to order it through a website. And that's how it kind of revitalized White Wolf and got them back into the game, so to speak. So yeah, when you don't look at what your audience likes, when you don't collaborate with them, you say, what do you guys want? Oh, okay, let's modify ourselves. And you kind of fall into ruin.
You talked a lot about because this was based on the topic that they were addressing, not just Star Trek or whatever.
Right.
You didn't talk a lot about how different mechanical systems can encourage different types of play, or how the DM can sort of guide things to be a certain type of game. Because even within one system, two different DMs can be an incredibly different experience.
Absolutely. And that's because it is such a very big topic. But it's good to bring it up. The people definitely do control how a game is interpreted. I have friends who run D&D games, which is very combat heavy, and they run it the straight, normal, vanilla way. You go, you kill some monsters, you do this, great, how's this go? When I do it, that's not what I get into. I sit there and I say, all right, what do you guys want to do? How do you do this? And we have a D&D experience that if they roll the dice and if they have one combat a session, that's lucky. But I also modify that and say, all right, well, you guys still want that constant leveling up that, according to the mechanics of D&D, comes from killing 3 higher than you monsters a session. My games, I just say, you all get 2,000 experience, or I write a new experience system, just something real simple that every story goal you complete, you get 500 experience. Every time you do something with your character, if you're a thief, every time you do something that enhances that, you get this much more experience so that we can have that kind of game and still use it in that system. House ruling is generally what the term that is called. Also, on the back of your sheets is a game of lexicon full of all the game terms that you guys may need to know if you're not familiar with them. House ruling, everybody pretty much does it. Like, says, this is how we're going to run this version of this game, because this is what fits that group. Even if it's something as simple as, oh yeah, I forgot that you're supposed to take a penalty when that happens. All right, you know, you're just not taking that penalty. But different DMs really affect the experience because they are the referees for the rules. You know, everybody kind of agrees on it, but they give the GM that kind of ability to say, yes, this is how we're doing this particular set of things. Did I get it what you wanted, or?
A little bit. I mean, if you wanted to play a more open world, why are you playing Dungeons and Dragons? Why aren't you playing Dresden, where it is a lot more cooperative and you're building the world and it enables the mechanics are already set up rather than making up your own to enable social interactions and other challenges besides killing orcs.
Okay. And that kind of goes to when you, as a group, decide what game you're going to play, what kind of rules you're going to follow for that. If your group is not heavily into killing monsters, you say, I'm going to play this other game, like Dresden. The Dresden Files RPG, they sat there and said, we need this to be very story-oriented. We need this to be very open to players building things in different ways than killing stuff or getting out of challenges in different ways. So they use a completely different system that doesn't use a d20, uses 4 small dice with pluses and minuses, so you don't think about the numbers aspect of what's going on. You think about, oh, I'm +2, okay, that puts me at this range from where my skill starts. And it changes the way you play because it changes what you think about. When you sit down and build your character, you don't have, oh, here's my combat rating. You have, oh, I want to give him this ability. I want to give him this aspect that helps him do better in these situations. So it definitely does encourage different types of play. But that's sort of the thing you agree upon when you first say, this is the rules that I'm going to go with. All right, that's what you're going to go with. That enables a different style of play.
This is anecdotal, I know, but I'm curious about if you see anything generational in desire to sort of homebrew or house rule. Is that something that's a little more old school or a little more, like as far as like waves of players or when you started playing that?
There's kind of a fun saying of everybody who plays wants to GM. Everybody who GMs wants to build their own game. Everybody who built their own game just wants to go back to playing. I wouldn't even say it's generational. Well, a term grognard means somebody who is stuck in the older style. They're a grognard for older rules. They've been playing since the first versions. I think right out there, right behind you, if you want to hold that up or hand that to me. This is a reprint of one of the first editions of D&D. It's the pink box. And it's actually a reprint. It's not actually that valuable, but it's one of the first editions. Grognard's like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, I have the old Ivy Red box. Well, I have this one. Oh, I have this. I have a copy of Chainmail. And that kind of attitude, feel free to pass that around. And feel free to take that out and look at it open. People have that kind of attitude aren't as much about making new things because they know what they like, they know what they've got, they don't really want anything more. First edition games are still being run at conventions by people who are just like, I'm going to run a first edition game, who wants to play it? And you have a whole bunch of, as the gaming term goes, graybeards sitting around playing this older version of it. And they love it. They don't really need to do more with it. As each edition of D&D or each edition of the game goes, it kind of gets shaped by the styles around it. The 70s was home to huge numbers of sword and sorcery fantasy games because that was really popular then. And then it kind of branched out in the 80s to sci-fi. So people kind of grew up with that. And as it branched into that new kind of way, genre, people said, well, we need a rule to handle travel. All right, so here's rules that handle these types of things. And then those got reincorporated back in. But people like their editions, so they don't really, first ones when they only had a very similar set of games to play that all kind of mimic each other. So I like this style of gaming, that's what I'm going with. People who have kind of grown up anywhere in the 80s after that are like, oh my god, let's try this, let's try that, let's try this, let's do this new one. I'm gonna try this one. Let's redo that one with this new mechanic that was created 15 years later because I think it would work really, really well. That's why you have so many games that revisit the exact same theme. And like I said, everybody who plays wants to be a GM. When they say GM, they say, I can do this better. How many typos are there in this game? Or when they hire an editor, let me do this. And when you have the ability to actually go break the stuff and say it, like I did, I can put a PDF up online for free. Cool, that's, oh, I've started to spend money on it. Okay, we'll get into that. And that's a lot newer attitude. But I'd say it's pretty common in anybody who started gaming in the 80s afterward, because they had a much bigger genre to play.
I also would say that it's just sort of inherent to gamers that they, are used to having some sense of agency in the world, and they're kind of trying to negotiate that. And so while you may see more house rules and more innovations in certain groups rather than others, there is that desire to try to work around, that's kind of embedded in the play process.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. There's no gamer out there who hasn't gone, wait, why didn't this happen this way? And then complained at a movie screen when it didn't go the way they wanted.
Taking on to that, do you see, what do you see as the influences of intergenerational gaming? Like, my children are old enough to game with me now. How does that change the dynamic?
If, best metaphor I have for this is the nostalgia you see with toys nowadays. They're remaking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles now because I played with them. Of course, I want my kids to play with them. They were awesome. I have seen in the last 5-10 years, 5 years is close to when I've really seen this start exploring. We're going to make a game that my kids can play. Mermaid Tales is one that just has gotten through its Kickstarter and gone out, and it's very geared towards kids playing games. And that's not a topic of discussion I heard going on a lot like 12, 13 years ago. It's just starting to go now because people are old enough. And when they sit down, they go, all right, I don't have time to game once a week or 5 times a day like I used to with my friends. Once a month, oh, and you're bringing your kids, you're doing this. And all right, I want to do that with them. How do we do that? So intergenerational, I think that's actually going to enhance this idea that's kind of been coming up in the industry of simpler rule sets. Older books are huge, full of tables, full of charts, full of how do I do this, how do I do this? Newer ones tend to be, the Marvel Role-Playing one is a great example of this. It's a superhero one, but it is incredibly open, whereas Champions in its 2nd edition was full of, here's this one, here's how all these powers work. Okay, you pick the ones that fit what you want it most to be. Or even the old Marvel one was very like that too. The new Marvel one is, all right, you kind of have power generation. This many points, you do this, okay, there you go. You explain how it happens. Self-Shilling, the one that I wrote, kind of has some of those ideas too of, yes, here's a rule to do it, but you say how it happens. We're not going to write, oh, having the blood of a dragon gives you a +2, having the blood of a centaur gives you +2, having a mechanical steam pack gives you +2 in 50 different flavors so people feel they can do that. It's +2, you tell us how it happens. And that kind of idea is starting to catch on a lot as, yes, you have more control over this, and we want it to be simpler. You fill in the rest of the blanks, we'll tell you how it works.
And the corollary to that, you see pushback from my eldest was really involved in those card games.
Okay.
And as he matured, he moved to RPG, and I saw a lot of interaction between the rules he learned for cards that he would make the house rules. Is that, do you see that as a trend in the industry, or is it just the way that they play the rules?
How old is your son?
My eldest is 15, my middle is 9, and my
Okay.
youngest is 6, so they each play slightly different flavor.
Right. So 15, he's definitely in that here's the mechanical, here's the crunch, I like all these different things, here's this cool bunch of powers I can go through. I did the exact same thing with the D&D second ed books with, I'm just gonna sit here and read these and make characters and think about them. And I think that's very, at that age, something you like to do. You like to be part of a group, and here are all these rules to be part of a group. I think that, and that's kind of why D&D tried to mimic the MMO 4E with 4E. Here's a whole bunch of rules, here's a whole bunch of things you can do, we're gonna tell you exactly how you can do that. Just like you do in a video game. And I think there will be pushback. I think people will, the people who want that will go to that area of the gaming industry. The people who want something different will go to a different area. And people will continually say, oh, games are getting too light and fluffy, let's make it crunchy again. And then 5 years later, games are getting too crunchy, let's make it fluffy again. How do we, and you're always gonna have that many-limbed octopus of lots of different things going on. And I don't know, honestly, if in 15 years there's going to be a big name in the gaming industry like Rochelle Simpson is right now, or Kaiser is right now, because more and more people are being able to do it. And if you can say, I specifically like this game, which is written really, really closely to what I want, I'm going to play that. I don't care that it's from 15 years ago. We're playing that right now.
What do you think of, I noticed, like big box food stores and just more mainstream stores are carrying things, but between packaged, like I noticed, UK brand that makes Warhammer.
Games Workshop.
Okay, Games Workshop has taken their RPG version of Warhammer and parted it out into small books and decks of cards listing powers so that you can hand somebody, oh, you have this power here, hold the cards.
Yep.
Obviously, I see the commercial end of that. You're selling it in more places and you're making something that, like, it's not all happening just in your head, you have everything to look at, and if you forget, you don't have to flip through 100 pages. But is there some other element to that?
There is. It kind of goes back to saying we want to go back to our histories, and it kind of goes back to saying we want to make these games again. You know, hold on, 2 examples of these. This is, like I said, a reprint of the pink box version of D&D. Very early. Inside of it, you have dice, you have a book with an adventure, you have another adventure, you have a map, you have the rules, and you have the rules for characters. Games became books really quickly because this got too expensive to produce. You got colored in with crayon. You had to color in crayons on these dice to make the numbers show up. This is the new Doctor Who game by Cubicle 7. It was made, this one is still David Tennant, but they're still making the Matt Smith one. Incredibly similar, even though it's just D6 dice, which everybody probably has in their house. You have the book to tell how to run the game, the book to tell how to use the players. This is one of the most brilliant things about it. A whole ton of characters and player options and character cards to write down your appearances. It's turning it back into a game. That's kind of going back to that history and saying, these used to be games, let's enhance that game element. And also, because it's easier to get people into. Somebody's not interested in this stuff, and I say, hey, let's go play a video game. I might be able to get them into it, but if they're not interested in it, getting them into a video game is harder. Getting them, hey, you want to sit down and play a Doctor Who kind of board game? That doesn't sound like a huge investment. I don't think I'm going to be losing half my life to World of Warcraft. All right, I can get behind that. And then they say, that was fun. I wasn't sure about that. There's a brilliant clip from the IT crowd, which is about that. They bring in these businessmen who are looking for a good time in London. And the main manager doesn't know how to get that, so she just incorporates them into her employees' role-playing game. And at the end, they are loving it. I don't think you're going to turn a lot of heads, but people are more open to, yeah, sure, I play Monopoly, I can do that. Yeah, I like movies, you have this off of a movie I like. Okay, I can see that. So that's kind of why, you know, games are kind of going back to how they were, at least for the type of game. Doctor Who, I can get my girlfriend into Doctor Who because she likes Doctor Who, and I can say, it's real easy, take this, I'll tell you what to do. It's 6:45. I'll take any other questions if you want, but head on out if you don't.
There is a reception in front of the haze rooms. We were originally outside on the pool deck, but we moved it inside because it's cold and it's going to rain. And so it is right in front of the haze rooms. And then we're going to have a karaoke competition with Amazon gift card reward for the winner, and a pub quiz with a myriad variety of prizes for winners and losers alike, I believe. Right, Brendan?
There's a couple prizes for real losers.
Right.
And they're all in that dice box right there.
John, are you going to stick around for the reception?
Absolutely. I will stick around.
We'll have a chance to talk to John more. Thank you very much.
If you corner me at the reception and give me a drink, I will be happy to run you a game or show you more, talk about that. Please feel free to take the character printouts out there, expose somebody else to gaming, grab a handful of dice. I have a dice guy who gets them from the real sheet. Out of the back of a van, I'm not joking. But feel free to grab some materials and introduce gaming to somebody.